Welcome to the Private Practice Startup Podcast, where we help ambitious private practitioners across the globe to brand themselves and grow their dream practices. We chat with successful private practitioners, business coaches, and marketing experts, bringing you tons of practice building ninja tips. Visit privatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and our signature marketing e-course. Here are your co-hosts, Dr. Kate Campbell and Katie Lemieux.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Private Practice Startup Podcast. We hope you guys joined us last week for Dr. Elizabeth King talking about her acronym PROFIT on how to build a six-figure private practice. And we uncover what shimmy means. So you guys want to make sure you tune in for that one. Today's guest is Lynn Louise Wonders. And this is a second time around because she got laryngitis when we were supposed to record initially. And if you have laryngitis or strep throat or anything else that affects your speaking or toothache or something like that, you definitely can't do a podcast. So we're excited to have her here today. And actually, Startup Nation, this is a requested podcast by you guys. And we're going to be talking about 6 strategies for ensuring self-care is baked into your business plan, which is super essential. But before we get started, we want to say, if you're a loyal listener, thank you for coming back and listening again. We love to get your guys' emails of saying, I love your podcast. It's great. Thanks so much. Like, that's what continues to inspire us. And if you're brand new here today, we want to say thank you for choosing us to join and listen to our podcast and really help you build the dream practice you desire. And for that, we have a special gift for you, which is our A to Z cheat sheet, the essentials for building and growing your dream practice. Head over to privatepracticestartup.com, over to the resources tab, and there you will see the A to Z cheat sheet, which also comes with 5 days of practice building emails to really get you started, because we want to help you guys the best that we can. So before we get started, let me share a little bit about Lynn. So Lynn is a licensed and certified in the state of Georgia as a professional counselor and supervisor, as well as a registered play therapist supervisor with 20 years experience under her belt of practicing and teaching meditation, yoga, and holistic means of self-care. Lynn leads self-care retreats for helping professionals. She emphasizes the importance of having a plan for self-care in her career development courses and consultation with professionals. She is a certified Canfield success coach and trainer. So please join me in welcoming Lynn. Hey, Lynn, how are you?
Great. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
We're excited to have you here. I'm curious about your self-care retreats for clinicians. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. I've been running self-care retreats for women for a long time. And last year I took a group of, I think we had about 20 therapists up to the Georgia mountains. And we had a 3-day, 3-night retreat that was just amazing. I've heard that a lot of them have said it was absolutely life-changing. And so I'm offering it again this year. It filled up really quickly. So I'm looking at expanding because it seems like there's a lot of demand and a lot of need for unplugging and going away and being with other therapists. There's something about the bond that happens because we have a very unique need for self-care. That's it's different than just anybody. I mean, everybody needs to attend to self-care, but so yeah, they take place in the mountains in Georgia, at least right now. I may expand. One time I did one at the beach, which was really nice too. So it's nice to be at a beautiful place in nature, to be able to connect with self and others and to connect with nature. And it's good for the soul.
That's awesome. Nice. So I'm so curious about your topic and what you're going to say. I actually have been really curious about this myself in terms of my own professional journey. And when I was getting my PhD, I wrote my dissertation on how to stay passionately committed in our profession, because so many clinicians struggle with burnout. And being in the helping profession, we're constantly focused on the needs of others. So it is so important to have that focus on self-care. So thank you for talking about this with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an ethical issue. We all know that. And yet somehow, and we're all dedicated to our ethics, there's no question about that. But somehow there seems to be a trend where psychotherapists neglect self-care. And I think it comes from a place of goodness, not from a neglectful place. But I think it's because we are so dedicated to the work that we're doing. We're so oriented towards being of service and helping others that it just kind of naturally happens that the ways of making sure that we are caring for self kind of fall to the wayside. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I want to talk with you guys today about what I teach in the self-care retreats and my ethics course on this topic, because it is so important. Burnout and compassion fatigue can sneak up on us. Mm-hmm. So we have to make sure that we've got a plan in place.
How did you get interested in this topic specifically?
Really out of a need for my own self-care. It actually started before I even became a therapist, realizing that taking care of myself was essential in order to be a good friend, a good mother. And I started studying meditation and yoga very early, right out of college, actually. And so it became something that I realized I could not live without. And it then melded into my work as a therapist. When I became a therapist, it was natural. Well, this has to be a part of this. And then as I got to know other colleagues, I realized that other people don't really have the same resources that I had. And they have to actually learn how to care for self.
Gotcha. And so you kind of became very committed to really helping the profession and others really do this.
Absolutely.
So share with us a little bit about, how do people come to working with you? Are they usually burnt out, or they just know they need self-care and they don't know what to do? Share with us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think it kind of comes naturally out of my work providing supervision for other therapists. It's something that I preach about a lot. And when I started realizing that there was a greater need, I kind of expanded what I was doing, and my offering webinars and on continuing education, not having to do with self-care. I got to know a lot of therapists all over the world. And a lot of people come to me to consult on building their child and family private practice. And in doing so, I preach that you have to have a plan for self-care as part of your business plan. It's essential to have success with the business. You have to have success within and, have the mind and body aligned.
So tell us a little bit about that.
About which part?
About how, so I love the concept of baking the self-care into your business plan, because that's not usually something to think about.
Right. Absolutely. Yep. So it started when I was offering these mastermind training programs. They were 90-day programs where primarily people who were training in play therapy wanted support in building their business. And as I was helping them with that, I realized a lot of times what would come up is that they would start to feel overwhelmed with the process of providing the clinical service and running the business. And so it just naturally came in that they needed to learn how to create a self-care plan. So we go through this whole process, and if you'd like, I'm happy to explain it to you, where the most important thing you do is make a commitment to your self-care with as much dedication as you do to your clients. We all, as therapists, schedule a client. When the client shows up for the session, we bring them into the office, we close the door, we remove all distractions, and we do nothing but be present for that client. And yet we don't do that for ourselves. Mm-hmm. But if we do it for ourselves and we make ourselves a priority with just as much dedication and use the schedule to do so, then we can ensure that the self-care is getting attended to on a regular basis. So I teach a way of creating a daily self-care plan, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. And so I have this whole process where I have them write down on the page. And so we break it down to the small things we need to do on a daily basis. And then those things that you would do, maybe you go to a yoga class once a week, and then on a monthly basis, maybe you get a massage once a month. Or maybe your self-care is just making sure that you get your breakfast in your body in the morning, or getting your walk for the day. And then there's the deeper levels of self-care where you're setting boundaries and you're observing your boundaries. And if you make a promise to yourself that you keep it, just like you would with someone else. There's lots and lots of layers. So, there's a meme that goes around on Facebook that says something like self-care is not just bubble baths and chocolate or whatever. And that's true. But sometimes those delightful moments that we do for ourselves are important. But then there's the deeper work as well. So I have the therapists make a commitment to themselves and put it on the schedule and honor it just like they would a client.
I like how you break it down so specifically from what they can do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly and a quarterly and annually, and all of that. Katie and I, one of the things that we help our coachees do is we help them create a lifestyle business. And that's kind of like big picture, taking that step back and looking at the bigger picture of, how much time do you actually want to take off each year, and to make sure that you're scheduling that time off first, and to think about what their dream schedule is, what their ideal time frame is of when they want to be seeing clients, and really setting those firm boundaries for themselves, marking that time off for themselves first, because otherwise people find themselves, the business is running their life and it's consuming, or, you know, they're bending over backwards to see clients at all hours of the day, even though they really want to be home with their kids after school or in the evenings or whatever it might be. So I like how you're talking about that.
What are some of the things that you find that affect people's ability to honor their own self-care?
Good question.
I think it's wired in, especially for women, societally, where we tend to put ourselves second or last on the list. And there's some belief that runs collectively under the surface, whether we're aware of it or not, that to put ourselves first is selfish. And that belief is a false belief. It's not selfish. It's self-preserving, self-honoring in order to be able to be more present for clients, for children, for friends, for family members and colleagues. So if we don't take that time, if we don't put ourselves first, it's just, you know, you hear that old, tired, repeated thing about, but it's true, about the being on the airplane. You know, if the mask drops down, put your mask on first before you put it on your child. And my husband's a pilot, or a former pilot, and he explained to me the reason for that is, and it's really analogous, is that if the oxygen in the airplane, you know, suddenly is not available, it's very quick that you will pass out. And so you have to make sure you're getting what you need so then you can help the other, or else you won't be available for the other person, for the child or whoever's next to you. So it's the same thing in our lives. And as therapists, like I said, I think that burnout and compassion fatigue can sneak up on us and we don't even realize it. So we have to be prepared and be proactive in making sure that we're ensuring we are getting our oxygen so we don't pass out.
And what are some of those things that we can notice that begin to sneak up on us?
Yes. You know, it can happen very quickly where you feel like you're not really looking forward to seeing your clients today. Or maybe you feel particularly irritated with something a client says in session, or, you know, irritability and even if it's just real minor, it's just sort of a flag that says, hey, I think I need to tune into this. I need to listen to this and see what I need to do for myself. So emotions, a lot of times, as subtle as they may be internally, can be very important signs that we need to do something to make sure that we're attending to self.
And so one of the things that I'm assuming that Startup Nation's thinking, and also a factor that I think affects people, especially getting into business, is that scarcity mindset, right? And so that I have to make this business work, coupled with I need self-care, but I'm really irritated at my clients, or I'm really exhausted. How do you coach people on that?
Well, the thing is that what you just mentioned, the scarcity issue, is something that mindset is problematic, and we have to look at that and realize that time, and we could do the same thing with money mindset. These concepts, we have a relationship with time, and we have a relationship with money. For example, I know we're not talking about money today, but and we have to attend to that relationship, and we have to realize that the concept of time is not. It's not, I know we think of it as linear, but it's not necessarily linear only. We can manage our time and have a healthy relationship with time, so that there is plenty of time for everything that we need to do. Now, sometimes because people have a money scarcity mindset, they will feel like they have to stack up clients, you know, and I see this a lot where the therapists are seeing, 35 clients a week, and I'm not trying to make anybody wrong, but that could be very difficult because you literally are stacking up your back-to-back sessions and you're not scheduling yourself in there for self-care. So I think getting healthy with good coaching, like what you guys are doing, on the relationship with time, with money, and the mindset in terms of how you think about time and how you think about money, goes a long way. And that's part of self-care. The fact that you're going and getting that coaching and learning about that, you're taking care of yourself there as well.
Do you ever have people do a time study and really examine their relationship to time and what they're doing? And
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very important. Just like if you were trying to clean up your relationship with money, you would look at what you're spending and what you're, and your beliefs around money. You do the same thing with time. You look at what are the beliefs. In fact, I'm working with a coaching client right now on this very thing. This time thing is where she's stuck. She has abundance mindset when it comes to money, but when it comes to time, she calls herself time poor. I'm sure she wouldn't mind me sharing that. And I'm working with her on changing that language and looking at where does that come from and digging into that and then analyzing where are you spending your time? What does your schedule typically look like? Where do you feel like what are the things that you're spending time doing that are causing you to feel tired? All of that, it's interrelated. And so I think it's really important to examine that. And it helps to have somebody like you guys or like myself to sort of walk them through that process, and because we have another set of eyes and a different perspective.
If you're in private practice, you wear a lot of hats. And some of those hats are totally great, but some, like filing taxes and running payroll, for example, not so great. That's where Gusto comes in. They make payroll, taxes, and HR actually easy for small businesses like your private practice. Fast, simple payroll processing and benefits and expert HR support all in one place. Gusto automatically pays and files your federal, state, and local taxes so you don't have to worry about it. Plus, they make it easy for you to add on health benefits and even 401ks for you and your team. Let them wear one of your many hats. You have so many better things to do with your time. Listeners get 3 months free when they run their first payroll. Try a demo and see for yourself at gusto.com/PPS. That's gusto.com/PPS. Are you feeling stuck, overwhelmed, and frustrated, not knowing where to start or how to grow and scale your private practice? You've spent years in school and a ton of money getting your degree, but you weren't taught the necessary branding, marketing, and entrepreneurial skills needed to be successful in private practice.
We get it. We've been there. We're Kate and Katie from the Private Practice Startup. We've spent a crazy amount of money and over a decade learning and perfecting a proven marketing strategy that works. Let us teach you the step-by-step proven system to help you fill your practice with the clients you love and live the life you've always dreamed of. Visit privatepracticestartup.com. Look for the e-course tab to learn more and see the amazing results our coachees have been achieving.
It can be so hard being in private practice because as clinicians, we're focused on helping people and making a difference. And there's a lot of energy that goes into that, a lot of effort and mental energy, physical, emotional, all of that. And then you also have a business to run. And most clinicians aren't taught how to run the business side of things. And so, especially when they're first starting out, they try and do everything. They're in the bootstrapping phase. They're answering all their calls. They're building their own websites. They just try to do everything. And it can be such a huge factor to leading them just straight to burnout. So being able to realize what your strengths are, what your natural talents are, what you're actually good at and what you enjoy, and then letting people help you with the rest of the stuff can be so helpful.
Absolutely. And you see just the way you just explained that right there, how it all melds together. The previous beliefs that we may have ingrained about time, about money, about our need to help others, about putting ourselves last, all of that gets tangled up, especially when they're first beginning to build their practice. So it's really important that we make sure, as I said, to bake in the self-care plan into the business plan.
So how do you help people do that piece? Put it into the business plan? What does that look like?
Okay. Yeah. So when I'm teaching business planning, I teach it like treatment planning. So they have their goal, they have their objectives, they have their action steps, and they're plugging all of that into their calendar. So I teach about time blocking and using that as a part of, it's going to connect into the self-care piece. So then we do the self-care analysis and we consider all the things that we need to do for ourselves, as I said, like on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly and annual. And then you take those things that you need to do and you schedule them. And you put deadlines in just like you do for your interventions, your action steps in your business plan. So if you have to order your business cards or you have to get your website built, you put a deadline for yourself, and you schedule what the steps that you need to do in order to reach that objective or that goal. Same thing with self-care. If you know that you need to find a new doctor and you need to get in to see that doctor, by a certain deadline, what kind of research do you need to do? And you schedule it all. So that's how you bake it in, is you use the calendar and you use the business building tools that you get from your coaching and you're learning about how to build a business, and you work the self-care commitments into the schedule, just as important as all of those business steps. Website design, very important. Going to the doctor, very important. Getting your exercise in, very important. It's all part of it. Mm-hmm. So it's not separated out.
Yeah. And I think that is so important. And that's a lot of the stuff that we talk about. And then eventually it becomes habit, right? I know for me, like I called it the me first rule, right? So it's me in the morning, right? So reading, meditating, I meditate before I get out of bed most times, because I know once I get out of bed, then I'm moving. So that and exercise is just really essential. And, I'll step in, like yesterday, I scheduled something at 8:30 because I had to, because there was no other option. But every time that happens, it's kind of like, why did I do that? Again, reminding myself. So, because it really affects then other things. I mean, I did get my workout and reading in, but that's because I had a nice gap in the morning. But really, I feel like it's that constant tweaking and figuring out what works for you.
Right. And we have a tendency to, when things get busy like that, to push the self-care aside because something else is more important. It's like, wait a second, that's a mindset thing. Right. Like this, my meditation in the morning is non-negotiable. I mean, for me, it has to happen. I have to do my yoga stretches in the morning, or my back is going to bother me later in the day. And then I'm not going to be able to do ABC. So it's like, I can't negotiate around that. And so it's just the level of dedication and commitment that you have to it. You have to see it as a need before it becomes a real physical need, because then you're in a sort of a crisis mindset. So it takes practice, and it does become a good habit.
Yeah. What are some of, and I know everyone's different, but some of the daily self-care practices, and then the annual? I'm curious about those, of what you suggest or what you see people do.
Yeah. So as far as daily self-care, that's the things like, make sure you're drinking the right amount of water that you need to get, staying hydrated. It's the things that sound so simple, but we could so easily neglect. Making sure that you're getting enough vegetables into your diet during the day, getting out and getting, a brisk walk, or if you're really athletic, getting a run in or a workout at the gym. For me, again, it's like I have to do my stretches every single morning. Meditation is common for a lot of people, or devotional time if they have, spiritual reading that they would like to do every day. Maybe that helps them start their day. And then, like I said, weekly, we'd like to be going to a class or something like that. Let me speed forward. Quarterly might be, you might have something medical that you need to do on a quarterly basis, or maybe part of your self-care quarterly is just to take a 3-day weekend. And then an annual thing might be going on a self-care retreat, or taking that long vacation where you're completely unplugged from work, as an example. So if you have all of those things scheduled in, then there's also just the mental relax that happens where okay, I've got that on my calendar and it's non-negotiable.
I like how you mentioned about unplugging from work, and shortly, I don't know exactly when in our podcast order, but we're having Mike Michalowicz back. And Mike Michalowicz, as most people know, is the author of Profit First, but he also has several other books, and we're going to be talking about clockwork. And so clockwork is really getting your business to run itself. And part of you getting your business to run itself is to begin taking scheduled vacations, up to a month vacation or more, and really testing your business. And so wouldn't that be really cool? Wherever you're at is thinking about, wow, the possibility of really just like stepping away from my business, allowing it to run itself, and what that would be like, and to really unplug. I know that you just got to spend some time.
I was going to talk about that.
Yeah, talk about it.
Yeah, I have a group practice, and I have it systemized so well. And my client care coordinator, she's there, and it just runs like clockwork. I just took a just shy of 3-week vacation and completely disconnected. It was the first time where I didn't have a website to build or projects to work on or different things like that. And of course, there were a few obligations that I needed to follow through with those commitments, and I did that. But for the most part, I was in northern Michigan at a lake. It was so beautiful and relaxing. I read 4 big books for pleasure, and didn't listen to any business podcasts. I just totally disconnected from everything business and was just present and had fun. And I was so relaxed, and I came back feeling like really excited about work and ready to dive in, and just renewed. And it made such a huge, huge difference. So it really does work. Yeah.
And there's one word that you mentioned in there that I just have to emphasize, and that's about the word present. When we are able to practice being fully present, whether it's in 30 seconds, meditation, whether it's a 3-week vacation, it's the quality of that presence that makes all of the difference. Because in that presence, we are able to realign and come back to true self and remember what really matters. And then, like you said, you feel refreshed, and you can do that for yourself every day. And that's, I'm sure you were about to mention this, but I'm giving away 10-minute guided meditation that I created because 10 minutes is just enough time to maybe fit it between sessions, or just do it right before you go to sleep at night. And just taking that 10 minutes and listening to the guidance that I give helps you to get that alignment in place, and you come out of it feeling refreshed.
Awesome. I have to just jump in and say this because it's popped into my head a couple of times through the podcast. Just a play on words with your last name, Wonders. We believe that therapists are superheroes, and your last name is Wonders. So you're like the Wonder Woman, helping all the helpers to help themselves. And I just think it's such an important.
And I have my mug today, the
superhero mug.
Awesome.
But I'll put your name right here for today.
Oh, that's great. Yes. Oh, I would need one of those mugs.
I just thought it was a cool last name.
Yeah. Well, my husband gave it to me, so I'm very grateful.
That is fun. I was thinking is, if you're in a place where maybe you do struggle with meditation or being present and things like that, is sometimes, and if you love coffee, I don't understand people who don't drink coffee, but that's just my thing. It might be hot tea. I don't care, whatever it is. But even just taking those 5-10 minutes and just being fully present with what you're drinking or what you're seeing, I think that's so important. One of the greatest gifts that I find with clients is when we are fully present and we're with them, because you're right, there are no distractions. I always find I'm very grateful for that time, because if I'm having difficulty in my life or other stuff going on, when I'm with my clients, it's like all that stuff goes away, and so presence is just so important, and the willingness to give that to our clients, why aren't we giving that to ourselves more often? It's just so beautiful. I've recently done EMDR training, and I started implementing it in my practice. And at first I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so boring. I'm just going to click it on and off and say, what are you noticing? And I have found actually that I am more relaxed in session. Yeah. I'm just kind of letting the client go through their process and just kind of looking around, looking outside, and I'm so peaceful and calm. Yeah. And it's really, really cool. So if you experience that stuff in session, what's the beauty of really giving that to yourself outside of session? So
Absolutely. Yeah. You got it.
Yeah. I know we've talked about a lot of different self-care tips today and strategies for how to bake that into your business plan, which is great. And ultimately, what do you want Startup Nation to take away from your message today?
That self-care and having specific strategies is essential to having true success, because for me, true success is feeling a sense of fulfillment and in the process of balance, always in that process of balance within our life and business. And if we don't make sure that we have a plan for self-care, it's probably not going to get done. So I say schedule everything, make it a priority, and make it non-negotiable.
Awesome. And one of the things that Kate and I both work with couples, but one of the things that I always say is that you have a repeating weekly appointment, and it's as important as an emergency doctor appointment. And same thing with self-care, because if we look at our schedule and we're like, oh, well, I could just move this, chances are you're going to keep on moving it. So yep. Commit to yourself. That's the most important thing. And I know that you referenced your giveaway, but share with us about that again.
Yeah, it's a 10-minute guided meditation. It's a relaxation session, and it's my voice, much softer than I'm speaking right now, with nice music in the background. And it's a lying down meditation, and it's basically visualizing and certain things to help your mind and your body come into alignment. And so then afterwards, you come out of the meditation and you feel refreshed.
Cool. Sounds lovely.
It is.
So we hope you guys, thanks Lynn for being with us. And of course, we'll put the link to that on our show notes page. And we hope you guys join us next time, where we have Katie tried. What is third? What is the word for that?
Katie times 3?
Katie times 3. It's not Katie squared because there's 3 Katie. So we're actually
the
trifecta. So we're going to have Katie Bernoy and Kurt Widhelm from Therapists Reimagined, and we're going to be talking about the Modern Therapist Survival Guide, Life Beyond the Couch. So just a silly, funny podcast that we talk about what happens
dating as therapist and what happens when you get in an Uber and it's like your client driving, or, silly situations like that.
So we hope you guys join us for that.
And we want to take a quick moment to give our Startup Nation superhero shout out for today's episode, which comes from Tizai herself. What a fun name. They say, the world needs more strong, powerful female voices such as Kate and Katie. Congrats on your success with the podcast. Oh, that's very sweet.
That is sweet.
Thank you, Tizai herself. And we appreciate your support. And we hope you're finding these episodes to be really useful and inspiring you guys from startup to mastery. We love when we get those random emails and shout outs because it really just inspires us to keep going and keep providing content for you guys that's going to be most useful. So if you want to be featured in our superhero shout out, send us an email.
Yeah.
Post on iTunes, give us a review, rating, subscribe. We would love to have you share this information with your fellow colleagues and friends as well.
And we'll see you next time. So thanks for always allowing us to inspire you from startup to mastery, Startup Nation. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us on The Private Practice Startup. Visit theprivatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, free trainings, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and so much more.